Hi, this is Alistair Weaver for Edmunds with an exclusive, the first full, independent, instrumented test of the new Chevy Corvette Grand Sport Coupe. In this fabulous film, we'll run all the numbers, we'll put it through a handling course, we'll compare it to its rivals, and we'll decide whether the Grand Sport really is the sweet spot of the Corvette range. This is Edmunds, fully tested. Time to stop showing off. We're Edmunds. We test hundreds of cars each year on the road and at our private track, so you get the most trusted reviews. If you want to know which car, truck or SUV is the best, stick with us. We bought this car with our very own money. It's an $88,000 Grand Sport with the Z52 Performance Pack and a few extra goodies, which we'll come to in a moment. Of course, one of the first things that everybody asks is, how much did you pay, mister? We paid 113 grand for our car, but if you're interested in a Corvette, how much you'll pay depends on dealers near you. And that's where Edmunds.com comes in handy. We have tools that show you what you should pay and also what's available in your local area. So click on the link below or scan the QR code and all will be revealed. And of course, while you're there, check out the famous Edmunds rating. You'd be mad not. The Grand Sport shares its new 6.7 litre V8, codename LS6, with the updated Stingray. So you get 535 horsepower and 520 pounds-feet of torque, without a turbo. That's more than a Porsche 911 Carrera S, which costs over 50% more. You also get the wider rear end from the Z06 and ZR1, uprated suspension, and a standard electronic limited slip differential to distribute the power. The Z52 Performance Kit adds grippier summer tyres, a stiffer suspension tune, and brakes pinch from the track-focused Z06. We've no doubt that the bigger ass and larger tyres of the Grand Sport adds mass, but the question is, how much? So I am extra interested in this. We had a standard Stingray with the Performance Pack in last week. That was £3,693, so just under 3,700. Let's roll this onto the scales and see how much difference that big butt really makes. So 3,693 for the standard Stingray, 3,778 for the Grand Sport. So that's 85 pounds heavier than the standard Stingray. Let's see what difference that makes out on the test track. Couple of things to know before we begin the straight line testing. This car has done over 1,500 miles, which is what Chevy recommends the braking period for a modern Corvette. And unlike some other publications that might regard themselves as trendy or perhaps feature cars and drivers, Edmunds doesn't quote a rollout, that old drag racing quirk that makes your numbers appear quicker, nor do we run on a prep surface. That's because we want our results to be as real world as possible. Candid, authoritative, trustworthy, but never boring. Let's get on with it. So how are we going to set this car up for maximum straight line performance? Well, first I'm going to go into track mode, then I come over here, I press launch control. Then it gives me the options of either manually configuring it. You can change things like the slip and the launch RPM, but in all our experience of testing Corvettes, which is now prodigious, we found that launch control auto is the quickest way forward. After that, I simply put my left foot on the brakes. It says brake harder. Now I floor it, builds it up, and boom, we're off. Ooh, a little bit of wheel spin, and we're away. Try and run the quarter. So a little look at the thing. 0 to 60, 3.8, probably a little bit down on what I expected. Just getting everything, including myself, warmed up to sound good. With the car dialed in, we ran a fastest time of 0 to 60 miles an hour in 3.3 seconds and the quarter mile in 11.4. That's half a second slower than Chevy's own claim of 2.75 seconds, which does include a rollout and more specialist prep. But how does it line up with other vets and key rivals tested at the Edmunds track? The Stingray we tested only last week ran almost identical numbers, trading less grip for a better power to weight ratio. The 670 horsepower Z06 hit 60 in 3.2 seconds, and ran 11.1 for the quarter. Of the obvious competitors, a base Porsche 911 Carrera is marginally slower at 3.6 seconds and 11.8, and even a 911 GT3 is only a fraction quicker to the quarter. So the Grand Sport is properly rapid. It stops pretty well too, even if the drive-by-wire braking system doesn't offer as much pedal feel as we'd like. From 60 miles an hour, it took 105 feet to come to rest, again matching the Stingray. The 911 Carrera required 4 feet less. On our skid pad, the Grand Sport lacked the intimate steering feel of a 911, but still registered an impressive 1.07G of lateral grip, versus 1.03 for the Stingray with its smaller boots, and 1.06G for the 911 Carrera. Before we head out onto the handling circuit, a little note about these seats. This is the LG3 trim of the Corvette, and that means you get GT2 bucket seats, but to be honest, they're a bit of a rubbish bucket, and they still favour those who have, what should we say, bigger bones. Now, Chevy's test drivers aren't immune to the problem, and they taught me a little trick at the launch of the ZR1. If you pull the seatbelt all the way out, then let it go, it activates the pre-tensioner, and it's a sort of poor person's race harness, but out here on the test track makes a significant difference. So there you go, practical advice from Edmunds.com. Now, I've been fortunate enough to drive pretty much every version of the current generation Corvette, all the way from the Stingray to that ZR1. I had an amazing day down at the Circuit of the Americas driving the ZR1. Unleash the look, unleash the power. But in that car, you are always conscious that the extraordinary power from the engine was doing battle with the chassis, and it was you and the electronics working together to keep it all on the circuit.
That was honestly pretty epic. It's a hell of a weapon.
This is different. This has got half the power, but 535 is still a huge amount. And more importantly, it feels better balanced. The engine and the chassis feel a match for one another. And that means that you can lean on it that much harder with much more confidence that sooner. It's a car that you can, if you've got some experience, just jump into and immediately drive fast. Now, you've got different setups on board. I'm currently in Tour, which I'm going to change to track, given that we are indeed on a track. This is the firmest setup. It plays around with the electromagnetic damping to give you a much firmer, keener response. It also does things like change the throttle mapping and the steering response. So this is what you want on the track. On top of that, we've also got performance traction management, so you can actually play with how much electronic intervention you want. I am going to put it into race 2, which gives me no electronic stability control, but just a little bit of traction control for exiting tight corners. As I say, in a ZR1 round, of course, as dry as this, I wouldn't be quite so gung-ho. Sounds pretty good too. A little brake, just take it in. The steering is not super quick, but it has a nice response, a nice weighting. Just pour it out, tons and tons of traction. Big brakes, no carbon ceramic brakes. It's just crying a little bit. You don't get massive amounts of brake pedal feel, but you can still modulate it into the corner through that little chicane there. I'm braking late, carrying the brake into the corner, and then relying on all that torque, 520 pounds-feet, to fire me out the other side. And that's what's really nice about this car. No turbo, of course, very quick throttle response, a little bit of complaint from the tires there. Just lean on the torque, fires me out and up the hill. Let's talk tires for a moment. These are Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires, which are a summer tire in our experience. They're a really good compromise between something that's really track focused, like the Cup 2R, and something that's more kind of towards the all-season everyday driving. If you live here in Southern California, it's a really nice compromise. 345 boots at the rear, that's an extraordinary amount of tire, and you can really just feel all that traction. This Grand Sport has got more of a rear-weighted weight balance compared to the standard Stingray, which combined with the bigger boots just means it can really haul ass, as they say, out of the corners. Oh, it's so much fun. It's not quite as pin sharp as the the Z06, which is stiffer still, and of course it doesn't have that shriek from the high revving flat plane crank V8 that makes the Z06 feel so special. But it's probably a better everyday car. It's just a little bit more, it's just that little bit easier to live with. Down to second, take it in on the brakes. Little dab of the throttle is to settle it. Hard on the power, full throttle, and it just grips and goes. Oh, it's really good. It's really, really good. There's a lot of really clever engineers at GM. They've done a fantastic job with this car. We had a standard Stingray at the track only last week and I managed to take it for a few laps. I have a direct comparison. The performance, as we can see from our numbers, is basically the same, but this does have a slightly more sure-footed feel about it. There is definitely more grip and it looks way cooler too. Man, I'm sweating. So Mark, we're a proper sports car. We've got the air conditioning running. It's about 90 degrees outside. Tyres are warm, I'm warm, feel like you've been working out. What's the point of having a supercar that doesn't make you feel that kind of adrenaline rush? And this certainly does. Now we've turned all the performance traction management off. We've gone back into tour and the whole car settles down and becomes that everyday tool that a Corvette has always been. And I think that's the great joy of this car. 911 has a similar trait, to be honest, that you can use it every day. I think Chevy's done a really nice job of adding some fire to the mid-engine car, but keeping that everyday versatility, which has always been the Corvette hallmark. This, for me, is the best Corvette, the C8. We're going to take a breath for a moment and talk about not only what's different on the Grand Sport compared with the standard Stingray, but also how we spec ours. But before I get into that, I should call out Edmunds' Sell My Car feature. If you've got an old car that you're looking to sell, perhaps so you can buy a brand new Corvette, head to edmunds.com/sellmycar. We'll tell you how much your old car is worth and even make you a cash offer. You'd be mad not to. So buy yourself a new Corvette, even if you've got kids. Frankly, especially if you've got kids. The biggest change compared with the standard Stingray and the Grand Sport is, of course, this wider track rear end, which it shares with the Z06 and the ZR1. You also get this pretty natty rear spoiler, complete with a cool little gurney flap. Whenever I see a standard Stingray with outer wing, always looks like something's missing. How do we spec ours? Well, we spent $800 on these red hashtags. We spent $500 on the Admiral blue paint job, which frankly I think looks fantastic, and another $1,300 on the Heritage white stripes. It's rather touching really. On the 250th anniversary of America, Chevy has built a Corvette in homage to the Union Jack. Anyway, moving swiftly on, our car also has gloss forged black alloys. Try saying that quickly. They're $1,100 and we paid a hefty $800 for those red calipers. Honestly, I could do without either. What we, and probably you, can't do without though is the nose lift system. Yes, it costs $3,000, but it does protect the front end from the challenges of urban life. And it's a real problem for sports cars. Right now in LA, speed bumps are more popular than Botox. We bought this car from a dealer down in San Diego, and overall we think they did a great job of speccing it, but with one critical error. They didn't tick the box for the quad center exhaust system. At $2,000, it's a bit of an indulgence, doesn't add performance, but we had a Stingray on test with that exhaust last week, and it looked and sounded magnificent. So if you're buying a Grand Sport, do tick that box. Our car doesn't have it, that's a shame, but it was still the best spec for miles around, and we didn't want to wait. At Edmunds, we bought a 2020 Stingray, which just about kept us sane during the pandemic.
I love this car so much.
We love that car and its quirky interior. The waterfall of buttons down the center console were ergonomically ridiculous, but at least they had character. Chevy updated the Corvette interior for the 26 model year, and although the quality improved a bit, some of the charm was lost. For me, there's just too much screen, too much going on, too much in your face for a car that's supposed to be focused on driving pleasure. And I'm still not a fan of the Quartic steering wheel on a road car. Our car is a top-spec LT3, so you get an excellent Bose audio system and a performance data and video recorder with which to bore your buddies. It's a fun piece of kit, but in our experience, not 100% honest. According to the car, the fastest 0 to 60 we recorded today was 2.9 seconds. According to our very expensive professional kit, it was 3.3 seconds. We're wondering if GM builds in the rollout into all of its 0 to 60 times, because every GM product we've tested with this kit always understates the 0 to 60. Our car also has a $700 stealth option, which includes darker trim for the speaker grills and really fits with the understated vibe of our vibrant red leather. It'd be remiss if I didn't point out that the Grand Sport retains the Corvette's lift-out Targa roof panel and useful front and rear trunks. Like the Porsche 911, it's still an everyday sports car, or everyday junior supercar if you prefer. And we'll be living with our supercar every day as part of our 1-year ownership fleet. If you'd like to keep up to date with everything that's going on with our Vette and all the other cars we run, be sure to bookmark edmunds.com/news. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can enjoy more videos like this. So what do we think? Well, we started this film by asking whether the Grand Sport was the sweet spot of the Corvette range. And I think that rather depends on your point of view. If you're just trying to get into Corvette ownership, then the standard Stingray at just over 73 grand is still a fantastic choice. It's pretty much as fast in a straight line, and it still delivers that mid-engine sports car feel. If, on the other hand, you're looking for that race car vibe, then the Z06 ultimately feels a bit more special than this car, and that's thanks to its sonorous flat-plane V8. So where does all that leave the Grand Sport? Well, for me, it's a great synthesis of the two. It's more exciting than the standard Stingray, particularly if you want to take it to a track, but it's easier to live with day in, day out than the more hardcore Z06, and it's a fair bit cheaper. It is, in other words, exactly as Chevy intended, a great all-rounder in the best Grand Sport tradition. Of course, spending around 100 grand on a car is a huge sum of money in anybody's language, but when you consider that the rival Porsche 911, even in base Carrera trim, is now the best part of 150, it starts to look like good value. If any car can truly be called a six-figure bargain, then this surely is it. If you want more details on the Grand Sport, all the other Corvettes, or frankly any car on sale, head to edmunds.com, where we meet all your car shopping needs. Thanks for watching, see you next time.